It was a rainy Thursday afternoon in New York City, with the streets bustling despite the gloomy weather. Among the sea of hurried commuters, Sarah Miller stood by the entrance of a quaint art gallery in SoHo. Her easel, perched precariously against the edge of the sidewalk, held a half-finished painting that glimmered with vibrant colors, a stark contrast to her worn-out clothes and tired expression. Sarah had been trying to make a name for herself in the art world for years, but opportunities seemed to slip through her fingers like sand. With bills piling up and rejection letters becoming a routine, she was close to giving up on her dreams. As the rain intensified, Sarah noticed a sleek black car pull up nearby. The door opened, and out stepped a woman with an air of elegance and grace. It was Melania Trump, the former First Lady, known for her poise and understated charm. She held a large umbrella, shielding herself from the rain, her presence commanding attention even in the busy streets of SoHo. Melania walked into the gallery, but paused for a moment when her eyes caught sight of Sarah's painting. Intrigued, she turned to her assistant, gesturing toward Sarah. "Wait here," Melania said softly. She walked toward Sarah, her heels clicking lightly against the wet pavement. Sarah, focused on adding the final strokes to her piece, didn't notice the figure approaching her until she heard a gentle voice. "Excuse me," Melania began, her tone kind yet curious. "Your painting, it's quite captivating. May I take a closer look?" Sarah looked up, startled to see the familiar face before her. She stammered, "Oh, of course. Please." Melania studied the painting, a mix of abstract shapes and vibrant hues that seemed to tell a story of resilience and hope. "You have a gift," Melania said after a pause. "Your work speaks to the soul." Sarah's cheeks flushed with a mix of embarrassment and pride. "Thank you. It means a lot to hear that, especially from someone like you." "What's your name?" Melania asked. "Sarah Miller," she replied, her voice steadying. "I've been trying to break into the art world, but it's been challenging." Melania nodded empathetically. The path of an artist is rarely easy, but true talent should never go unnoticed. She turned to her assistant, who was standing a few feet away. "Contact the gallery owner. I want this piece for my personal collection," she said firmly. Sarah's eyes widened. "You want to buy my painting?" Melania smiled warmly. "Not just this one. I'd like to see more of your work. Do you have a portfolio?" Sarah hesitated before pulling out a weathered folder from her bag, her hands trembling slightly. "This is all I have," she said, handing it over. Melania flipped through the pages, her expression thoughtful. "These are extraordinary," she said. "You have a unique perspective. It deserves to be shared with the world." The gallery owner stepped out just as Melania finished speaking. "Mrs. Trump?" he greeted her, visibly surprised. "Hello," Melania replied. "I'd like to purchase this painting and discuss showcasing Sarah Miller's work in your gallery." The gallery owner glanced at Sarah, his demeanor shifting. Moments ago, he had dismissed her as just another street artist. But Melania's interest had changed everything. "Of course," he said quickly. "We can arrange an exhibition. Miss Miller, if you could provide more pieces, we'll set up a showcase within the month." Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes. I don't know how to thank you," she said, her voice breaking. "Believe in your talent," Melania said simply. "The world needs more beauty, and you have the power to create it." The rain began to lighten as Melania stepped back toward her car. Before leaving, she turned to Sarah once more. "Remember, Sarah," she said with a gentle smile, "when opportunity knocks, don't hesitate to open the door." As the car disappeared down the street, Sarah stood in the drizzle, clutching her folder of sketches. For the first time in years, hope burned brightly in her heart. The following week was a whirlwind for Sarah Miller. The gallery owner, clearly eager to capitalize on Melania Trump's endorsement, had scheduled her art exhibition for just 3 weeks later. Sarah, overwhelmed but determined, dove into her work with a newfound sense of purpose. She spent long hours in her tiny apartment, transforming her kitchen into an art studio. The news of Melania Trump's interaction with Sarah had already started to circulate. A few local blogs picked up the story, dubbing it Melania's artistic discovery. Though Sarah wasn't entirely comfortable with the sudden attention, she knew it was an opportunity she couldn't afford to waste. As the days ticked by, Sarah poured every ounce of creativity and emotion into her paintings. Each piece told a story, some about her struggles, others inspired by fleeting moments of hope. One particular painting stood out, a vibrant depiction of her rainy day encounter with Melania. The canvas captured the elegance of Melania's figure, contrasted by the chaotic energy of the rain-soaked city. Meanwhile, the gallery owner spared no expense in preparing for the exhibition. Invitations were sent to influential figures in the art world, local celebrities, and media outlets. The buzz grew louder as rumors spread that Melania Trump herself would be attending. Sarah's friends rallied around her during this time, offering support in any way they could. Her best friend, Mia, took charge of organizing her portfolio, while her neighbor, Mr. Carter, helped transport her finished paintings to the gallery. "You're going to be a star, Sarah," Mia said one evening as they arranged the paintings in Sarah's living room. Sarah laughed nervously. "I just hope people like my work. This could be my one shot." The day of the exhibition arrived, and the gallery was transformed into a breathtaking space. White walls displayed Sarah's paintings, each illuminated by soft, warm lighting. The room buzzed with anticipation as guests began to arrive. Sarah stood near the entrance, her heart racing as she greeted attendees. She wore a simple yet elegant black dress, borrowed from Mia, and had her hair styled professionally for the first time in years. As the room filled with art critics, collectors, and curious onlookers, Sarah couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and fear. This was the moment she had been dreaming of, but the stakes had never been higher. The murmurs in the gallery grew louder as Melania Trump entered, her presence commanding immediate attention. Dressed in a chic cream-colored ensemble, she moved through the crowd with ease, her assistant close behind. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as Melania approached her. "Sarah," Melania said warmly, extending a hand. "I'm so proud to see your work displayed like this." "Thank you, Mrs. Trump," Sarah replied, her voice trembling slightly. "I wouldn't be here without you." Melania smiled. "Your talent brought you here. I just gave it a little nudge." The two walked through the gallery together, Melania stopping to admire each painting. She asked thoughtful questions about Sarah's inspirations and complimented her ability to evoke emotion through her art. As they reached the painting that depicted their rainy day encounter, Melania paused. "This is stunning," she said softly. "You've captured the moment beautifully." "It's my way of thanking you," Sarah said, her cheeks flushing. Melania turned to the gallery owner. "This piece needs a special place in my collection," she said decisively. As the evening progressed, Sarah found herself surrounded by people eager to meet her and learn about her work. A well-known art critic approached her, praising her use of color and composition. "You have a remarkable gift," he said. "Your work has a raw, emotional quality that's rare to find." A gallery owner from Los Angeles expressed interest in hosting her next exhibition, while a local magazine editor asked if they could feature her in an upcoming issue. Through it all, Melania remained by Sarah's side, introducing her to key figures and ensuring she felt supported. "This is just the beginning," Melania said during a quiet moment. "You have the talent to go far, but remember to stay true to yourself and your vision." Toward the end of the evening, a man in his late 50s approached Sarah. Dressed in a tailored suit, he exuded an air of authority and confidence. "Miss Miller, my name is Jonathan Reed," he said, extending a hand. "I'm the director of the Reed Foundation for the Arts. We support emerging artists through grants and residencies." Sarah shook his hand, her curiosity piqued. "It's an honor to meet you, Mr. Reed. I've been following your story since it broke," he continued. "Your journey and your work are incredibly inspiring. I'd like to offer you a 1-year residency at our art retreat in the Hudson Valley." It's a space where artists can focus entirely on their craft, free from financial worries. Sarah's eyes widened in disbelief. That sounds incredible. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Jonathan said with a smile. We'll cover all expenses and provide a stipend to support your living costs. Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes as she nodded. Yes, thank you. This means everything to me. Melania, standing nearby, placed a hand on Sarah's shoulder. You deserve this, she said softly. The exhibition was hailed as a resounding success, with several of Sarah's pieces selling by the end of the night. The painting of Melania fetched the highest price, purchased by a renowned collector who praised its emotional depth. As Sarah left the gallery that evening, she felt a profound sense of gratitude. The journey ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time, she felt like her dreams were within reach. Melania Trump's simple act of kindness had set off a chain of events that transformed Sarah's life. It was a testament to the power of compassion and the ripple effect it could create. Sarah Miller woke up the morning after the exhibition with an overwhelming sense of disbelief and gratitude. Her tiny apartment, once her haven and studio, now felt like a starting point rather than a limitation. The echoes of last night's applause, the warm words of encouragement from Melania Trump, and the unexpected offer from Jonathan Reed all swirled in her mind, like a dream she was afraid to wake up from. She sat at her modest kitchen table, sipping coffee and scrolling through her phone. Her social media accounts were flooded with messages of support. Strangers from all over the country had written to her, inspired by her journey and moved by her story. The hashtag Melania and Sarah was trending, with people praising Melania Trump's efforts to uplift an emerging artist and applauding Sarah's resilience and talent. Among the many notifications, one email stood out. It was from Jonathan Reed's assistant, containing details about the Hudson Valley Art Residency. As she read through the itinerary and guidelines, the reality of her new opportunity began to sink in. For the first time, she would have the resources and time to focus solely on her art without the constant pressure of paying bills or working multiple jobs. Later that day, Sarah received a call from Melania Trump. The sound of her warm, familiar voice immediately put Sarah at ease. Sarah, I hope you're feeling rested after last night, Melania said. I am, Mrs. Trump, Sarah replied. Thank you again for everything you've done. I can't believe how much my life has changed in such a short time. Melania chuckled softly. You've earned every bit of it. I just helped the world see what was already there. Now, I have another surprise for you. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. Another surprise? Yes, Melania continued. I've spoken to a few friends in the art world, and we've arranged for your work to be featured in a special showcase in Paris next spring. It's part of a global initiative to highlight emerging talent. Sarah was speechless. Paris was the pinnacle of the art world, a place she had only dreamed of visiting. To have her work displayed there was beyond anything she could have imagined. I don't know how to thank you, Sarah finally managed to say. You don't need to thank me, Melania said. Just keep creating and inspiring others with your art. In the weeks that followed, Sarah prepared for her move to the Hudson Valley Residency. Her friends and neighbors gathered to send her off, their pride in her palpable. Mia hugged her tightly at the train station. You're going to do amazing things, Sarah, Mia said. Don't forget us when you're famous. Sarah laughed, though tears glistened in her eyes. I could never forget where I came from or the people who believed in me when no one else did. The residency turned out to be everything Jonathan Reed had promised and more. Nestled in the rolling hills of the Hudson Valley, the retreat was a sprawling estate with studios, workshops, and communal spaces where artists from around the world gathered to share ideas and collaborate. For the first time, Sarah felt like she truly belonged. She spent her days painting, exploring new techniques, and pushing the boundaries of her creativity. The tranquility of the retreat allowed her to delve deep into her emotions, translating them onto canvas with a rawness and authenticity that even she hadn't known she possessed. Her evenings were spent exchanging stories with fellow artists, learning from their experiences, and forming lifelong friendships. As the months passed, Sarah's work began to attract even more attention. Art collectors and critics visited the residency, many of them drawn there after hearing her story. One collector, a woman named Isabelle Fournier, was particularly taken with Sarah's work. "You have a gift for capturing the human spirit," Isabelle said as she purchased 3 of Sarah's paintings. "Your pieces speak to the soul." Sarah's confidence grew with each passing day, and by the time the Paris showcase arrived, she was ready. The exhibition was held in a historic gallery in the heart of the city, with its grand halls and intricate architecture providing the perfect backdrop for her art. Melania Trump attended the opening night, as promised, her presence adding a touch of elegance and gravitas to the event. The gallery was packed with art enthusiasts, critics, and journalists, all eager to see the work of the artist whose story had captured the world's attention. Sarah stood beside Melania, greeting guests and answering questions about her work. One by one, attendees approached her, expressing their admiration and appreciation for her talent. The highlight of the evening came when a renowned French art critic declared her collection the most evocative display he had seen in years. By the end of the night, nearly all of Sarah's pieces had been sold, and she had received invitations to exhibit in galleries across Europe and the United States. The one struggling artist who had doubted her place in the world now stood at the center of it, her dreams not just realized but surpassed. As Sarah and Melania shared a quiet moment toward the end of the evening, Sarah turned to the former First Lady. "Mrs. Trump, I don't think I'll ever be able to fully express how much your kindness has meant to me. You changed my life." Melania smiled and placed a hand on Sarah's shoulder. "It wasn't just kindness, Sarah. It was belief. I saw your potential, but you were the one who had the courage to take the leap. This is your journey, and I'm honored to have been a small part of it." Years later, Sarah would look back on that rainy afternoon at Cafe Verona as the moment everything changed. Melania Trump's simple act of compassion had set off a chain reaction that not only transformed Sarah's life, but inspired countless others around the world. It was a testament to the power of kindness and the extraordinary outcomes it could create when paired with talent and determination. And as Sarah stood in her Parisian studio, overlooking the Seine, she couldn't help but marvel at how far she had come. From a struggling artist with a dream to a celebrated figure whose work touched hearts across the globe.